This 10-gallon Aquascape has become available, and I'd like to move my 6 Killifish into this tank. Perhaps they have laid eggs in the 5.5 gallon tank that will hatch and survive there if I remove the adults. Supposedly the Gabon killifish will not devour eggs or fry, but I think, like white clouds, sometimes they do, and so I've heard that many aquarists like to allow them to acclimate to a tank and then remove the adults to try and save the young. But before I move them into this tank, I'd like to deal with the bladder snails in this tank. And so I'll remove all the plants and soak them in alum solution for a couple days. Do the best I can to remove all the pest snail eggs from the tank. I could start completely over, but I don't want to take that long. And so I think if I remove all the water and clean the glass thoroughly, it should get rid of most of the eggs. The bladder snails may come back, but with manual removal, I should be able to keep them under control. Previously, I used this kitchen glass to house the tip of the heater so that it wouldn't get buried in the substrate. That's very bad for a heater, tends to burn them out. But since the new setup will be an unheated tank, it's the perfect place to set this little sponge filter. So I'll give the substrate a chance to dry out. Hopefully all the pest snails and eggs will expire, and then I can put the hardscape and plants back in the tank. Here's a look at the Gabon killifish in the 5.5 gallon tank. I added a bio bag full of gravel and peat moss behind the hardscape because, as I understand it, this fish likes the acidity that the peat moss causes. So hopefully there will be some eggs among that, and perhaps the double sponge filter as well. Now that I've put the hardscape back in place, the question is, while the plants are soaking in alum solution for 48 hours, will the substrate dry out sufficiently to kill the pest snails but not the beneficial bacteria? Once I refill the tank, I can add the plants immediately without issue, but I'll have to wait a week or two to ensure that all the parameters are correct and there are no nitrates. I'm not sure that this tank will have enough beneficial bacteria right away, but once it settles in, I should be able to add the killifish. As I suspected, a couple of days of allowing the substrate to dry out was not sufficient to destroy pest snails, so they are still thriving in this tank. In future I may redo the scape to get rid of those, but I'm anxious to allow this tank to get back to pristine conditions for the killifish. These 6 Gabon killifish appear right happy in this 10-gallon setup. Also added a bio bag of peat moss and gravel behind the hardscape so that the acidity will make the water to their liking.